It is very dark and...
Das kann nicht wahr sein,
Oh,
das kann nicht...
crap.
Scheiße, Scheiße!
Sorry about that first shot. Thank me for the second one later. For now, I guess it's just you and me.
Okay, so one thing that I did want to talk about here is that this is something that very much happened. So, in the early morning hours of D-Day, there was a lot of parachute jumps that were at night, and basically the whole purpose of this was to actually get behind the Germans in help for the Normandy landings that were coming later in that day. Now, about this is, because it was really dark, and planes were getting shot by AA, soldiers didn't actually know everywhere they were jumping. Sometimes they would basically land in places just like this. They would land right on top of a tree and they would get stuck. Now, there was a lot of war crimes that were actually committed by the Germans in this time, that if you were an American soldier and you actually got caught in a tree, a lot of times they would shoot you. And this did not just happen in the Normandy landings, this also happened in Operation Market Garden, which is arguably the largest paratrooper invasion in history. But when a paratrooper is coming down, shooting at them isn't necessarily a war crime because they're soldiers that are being ready to deploy. However, though, when a paratrooper gets stuck in something, like they're stuck in a tree, they are pretty much defenseless at that point. They are not a threat. And the proper thing to do is you're supposed to cut them down and take them as prisoners. But a lot of times what the Germans would do is they would just shoot somebody that's in a tree. So if somebody is defenseless, they are not a threat anymore, they're caught in a tree, and like what that German soldier was trying to do there, that is pretty much a war crime. So he was saved. If that other guy did not intervene, he would have killed him 100%. There's no doubt about it. He would not have taken him prisoner. But there is a famous example of an American paratrooper named John Steele. Now, the story with John Steele is that they jumped over St. Mary Église, which was a town that was actually fought over during the Normandy landings, and there's actually a famous church around the town. Now, a lot of paratroopers came into that area. Steele actually had gotten shot in the foot, most likely by AA fire, when he was coming down, and he actually got caught onto the church. And what happened was the Germans had actually surrounded the church, and he was actually so scared of getting shot that he actually pretended to be dead. He just had his head down and pretended to be dead. He laid there like that for 2 hours pretending to be dead while the Germans were moving around the town, and it seemed to have worked. The Germans at first thought that he was dead. They realized eventually that he was alive, and they ended up cutting him down and taking him prisoner. So they didn't kill him in that instance. But what happened was, as he was being marched with other prisoners later, there was more gunfire that erupted, more battles between American soldiers and the Germans, and he ended up escaping. Now, there is actually, on the anniversary of the D-Day Normandy landings, they actually put up a figurine of the exact area of where he had actually crash landed his parachute. I think that he had also gotten a decoration. I will also link right down below what that was. But that was a genuine fear that paratroopers had during World War II, is a lot of paratroopers were scared that if you get caught in something, because if you get caught like high in a tree, you can't necessarily release your parachute if you're really high up, because you fall, you're going to break your legs. So you're going to have to wait for somebody to come and cut you down, but you can only pray and hope that that's one of your friends and not the enemy, because if the enemy finds you, they're not necessarily just going to cut you down, they're going to shoot you and execute you a lot of times too. But yes, shooting a paratrooper that is caught in a tree and is defenseless is a war crime.